Hello, everyone. It's me again. It's Max Zenas. I hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's feeling at least hopeful. And what I wanted to talk a little bit about today is ancestors, honoring ancestors. I haven't done a reading in a little while. I don't know about you all, but the last 2 weeks I would say has been has been a little blah blah blah, right? So I didn't do an official Halloween reading. I didn't do an official All Saints, right? Halloween is Saint Hallows Eve. It's All Saints. It's Day of the Dead, and in some places they actually celebrate Day of the Dead all of November. And so I'm celebrating all of November. And one thing I wanted to talk about is honoring ancestors. And I guess the best way to put it is this is my own take. Let's just say it's my own perspective, or it's my own theory, my own view of what it means to honor ancestors, what it means to me to honor ancestors, and why it's important to honor ancestors. This is not to convince you in any way. This is just me sharing. Well, first and foremost, there would be no me without them, right? Every great 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 grandparent, great 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 aunt, uncle, these cousins, people I never met in person, I feel like my existence is an extension of them, right? So I feel like when we talk about lineages, right, life is eternal, and in some ways, spiritually speaking, we are eternal. We are infinite. We are as infinite and immortal as the universe is, right? It's our physical bodies that expire, and then we pick a new physical body and we keep going, right? Because the spirit exists. As far as I'm concerned, the spirit will exist for as long as there is a universe for it to exist in. And maybe it's self-perpetuating, right? Maybe we manifest more universe to exist in as we are existing. That's just an idea. But those ancestors are what make up my DNA. Those ancestors are, for one, I want to say, I want to cut to this chase. I'm going to cut to this chase, and I want to say that I know what it feels like, right? I know what it feels like to feel alone, to feel like it's like in your logical mind knows that you're not the only person having these tough experiences that you're having, right? The trials and the tribulations, you're not the only one. But when you're going through it, it really feels like you're the only one. It just feels like nobody understands. It feels like no one can relate. And even some of the people who I honestly can say do love me and do care about me and do want me to be well, even they're wrapped up in their own lives. They got kids, they got mortgages to pay, and everything is totally understandable. But at the end of the day, is really you're the only one that has all the time and the patience for yourself in whatever your situation is. And as much as people might try, some people really just can't relate. Some people can't relate. Some people have just not gone through what you've gone through and can really only understand it logically. Some people, we live in a world where a lot of people, the world is taught to push down our emotions. And so empathy is really hard to come by because most people aren't really emoting at all. And so at best, you can sometimes get a little understanding, a little sympathy. But then I don't necessarily want to be somebody who's seeking validation. It's not always about seeking validation. And I'm saying all that to say is when I didn't know who to turn to, I had these ancestors. This innate spiritual connection to parts of my family, people in my family that I've never met in person. And I feel like there were times in my life where I feel like they were in some mystical, magical way, I would get like a tap on the shoulder, right? Whether that be through synchronicity, life synchronicity. I got this job. Long story short, like I got this job once, and one of the guys that I thought were really, really dope, because being trans or just being queer, being visibly different, it can get some interesting, like weird interactions with people. And so it really, really stands out, those few people who you can feel that they're comfortable in their skin, and how you are doesn't move them at all. And this, they're able to see beyond that surface. And I remember getting this job a couple years back, and the trainer name was Billy, and my dad's name was Billy. And so I just, that's what I mean by synchronicity, right? You know, my dad passed some time ago. I've even had a couple of dreams with him in it, right? And so I would have dreams, I would have these synchronistic experiences, and even moments of inspiration, right? That's just someone riding a bike in the background. I respect it, but it just felt like when I had nothing, I had them. When I had no one, I had them. And I just felt like, even when I can't even say per se that I knew how to do that. I didn't necessarily know how to connect with ancestors. I would express the desire to want to be connected to these ancestors. I would express openness, right? I understood from a young age. Like I said, I was lucky enough to have been exposed to astrology when I was young, and that didn't really understand until I was well into my 20s, and even really into my 30s. It didn't really register like how significant and important that was. Like, what are the odds of that, right? I feel like even that is no coincidence. That my mom was enough into astrology that she bought a few books. And this is before we even, like back when computers was basically like a black screen and some letters on it, right? We barely had the graphics that we do now, but my mom actually paid for birth chart readings, online birth chart readings. And this is like the 80s, right? Like I said, the computers was barely, we barely, you know what I'm saying? So she was into it enough to pay for birth chart readings, and she was into it enough to have bought a couple of books. And my dad was very much into literacy. Like, I don't care what books you read, as long as you're reading. My kids are going to know how to read, right? And so astrology was just an easy read at the time. It was just an easy read. Like, I could pick up this book, I can read Aquarius, put it down, and then I get a bit more curious. Like, what's my brother's signs? And I start, I have siblings. I'm like, now I'm reading about Libra. Now I'm reading about Scorpio. Or brothers in Aries. Now I'm reading about Aries. And then before I know it, I just kept reading the rest of the book. And then I would read another book. And that was just so interesting. But what I'm getting at is, it just introduced me to a language. Like, I didn't understand until in my 20s and 30s that I was introduced to a language. I was introduced to the concepts early. The concepts of there being such thing as a soul mission. The concept of there being such thing as being spiritual. The concept of intuition. Even if I didn't quite understand it, intellectually, didn't fully understand it, and didn't understand how important it was, I just thought it was interesting. And as I got older, and then it kind of comes back into style, right? Like I said, I was an 80s baby, and horoscopes was in at the time. You would buy the newspaper. We bought the newspaper mainly for the horoscope and the comic section, right? And but then as I get older, it comes back into style. We have the internet. Now the whole world is into tarot cards and astrology again. And so now I'm able to revisit it. And so I'm getting to a point here. But the point is, I just felt like none of that would have happened without all these intuitive nudges. Intuitive nudges for me, intuitive nudges for my mom, my dad. My dad is way more intuitive than I think even he realized he was. We had a lot of interactions where I realized, like, wait a minute. I was just thinking that. You know what I mean? He would say things and I'd be like, how did he know I was just thinking that? I don't even think he realized he could do it. And matter of fact, it was through my family that I understood the connection between anxiety and intuition. A lot of people who are having anxiety issues a lot of these people are really just very empathic, very intuitive, and no one's taught them how to lean into that. And so from a young age, from a younger age, I was already introduced to the language, and as I got older, I was able to lean into these things, and the more I lean into it, it felt like the more they lean into me. It's or something, right? Like, I'm doing my best to put the words together, but I can't really. I can't really. It's really more of a feeling than it is, and language is really inadequate. Language is inadequate in expressing all the feelings. To be honest with us, right? Like, there's probably more feelings than there are words and terms to express all the feelings, right? Because, but I honor these ancestors because that nudge to connect to them allowed me to never. It put me in a position to never feel alone. No matter how alone I was, no matter how alone I might seem to be in the physical, I never felt alone. I never felt like I never felt like nobody understood, because they do, right? My ancestors understand. My ancestors, my spirit guides,